Mario Kart World has been out for over a month, and I've played each and every track enough times to finally be able to conclude a ranking. I've played these maps in single player, multiplayer, and online before the update to make sure I got the most diverse range of experience. I will not be ranking these maps in a direct order, like from worst to best, because I found it difficult to figure out which maps I actually prefer over the other. Instead, I am doing a tier list. Before we start, I just want to go over how I decide my rankings. F and D tier. These are my absolute least favorite maps in the game. They range from absolutely mediocre to mid at best, and I would never pick these online. C, B, and A tier. These maps range from good to great. I would willingly pick most of these online. And finally, S tier. These are my absolute favorite maps in the game. Yeah, there's gonna be bias involved, but that's the point of favoritism. I'm picking these online and throwing a fit if it doesn't roll on them. Honestly, some of my rankings are bound to piss people off, but I'm more than ready for the show in my comments. Anyways, let us begin going in order of the cups, kicking it off with the Mushroom Cup. Starting with the very first track in the game, Mario Bros. Circuit at C tier. Overall, this map is pretty simple and straightforward. Even the shortcuts are extremely easy to pull off, so it just lacks the challenge and skill opportunities. However, since it is the first map, it does introduce us to the game's gimmicks fairly well. Not much you can expect here. Next up, Crown City, the first route, at B tier. This course has a very fun and dynamic layout. The straightaway on the actual road is meh, but once you get to the rooftops and construction areas, it gets really interesting. I love hopping from ramp to ramp and from rail to rail. It kind of reminds me of that one mode in the mobile Mario Kart where they add a bunch of random ramps around the maps. It's really cool, not to mention the banger music it has. All aboard the Whistle Stop Summit at A tier. I'm not gonna lie, when I first played this map, I thought it was very boring. That was until I learned the tech of the game, and now it's close to one of my favorite maps. The entire map basically has two overlapping layouts that you can use whenever you want or however you want depending on your situation. It also has the hardest shortcut in the game, which I had to practice countless times to be able to do consecutively. This is definitely going to be a huge fan favorite map in the future. Finally, we've made it to the end of the Mushroom Cup at DK Spaceport in D tier. This map is basically the Excite Bike arena of Mario Kart's world. The layout is extremely redundant, there isn't much going on in the map. We have this rail section which is super easy to utilize. And we have this really cool looking wall jump section, but taking the wall path actually slows you down. Overall, the map isn't atrociously bad to be in the F tier, but it's still bad. Now, before we move on to the Flower Cup, go ahead and hit that subscribe button to support this channel. I really want to build a name in the Switch 2 era and be a part of the content creator journey. Anyways, Flower Cup. Starting off with DS Desert Hills in the C tier. Overall, this map isn't really as bad as people are making it out to be. It's far better than whatever crap it was back in the DS. However, it's still really simple and more of a bagging track, and I would have taken Wii Dry Dry Ruins or even GBA Yoshi Desert over DS Desert Hills. Next, we have 3DS Shy Guy Bazaar in the S tier. I absolutely love this map. We have the normal layout with several different shortcut paths and opportunities to take. Like, look at this insane strategy. On top of that, they added a whole new variant which includes our first ever depiction of Princess Daisy's castle. I really love this section because we actually get to go inside of it and on the roof. Additionally, this map has a beautiful aesthetic. It reminds me of Aladdin with the whole Arabian Indian fusion, and it's my favorite Disney fairy tale or whatever you want to call it, so I'm biased towards it. It finally got its justice after being scrapped from Mario Kart 8. Next up is N64 Wario Stadium in the C tier. The map is good, but it's also pretty forgettable for me since it's nothing like the original version of it. It does have cool tech, such as this rail shortcut, but that's all about the map has. It's still pretty dynamic, so I can't really give it anything lower than a C. Finally, we're ending the Flower Cup with DS Airship Fortress in the A tier. I am so happy that this map is finally back, especially since it really deserved a spot in Mario Kart 8's DLC. It's one of my favorite maps in Mario Kart ever, as anyone would say really. However, I expected more of a revamp from it. It feels like the same map essentially, but with rails that aren't even that fun to pull off, even if they're super effective. That's the only thing keeping it from the S tier because I do think there was a lot of potential for this map. Now, let's move on to my personal favorite cup in the game, the Star Cup. Starting with DK Pass at the A tier. Younger me would be extremely surprised to see this map ranked high because I used to dislike this map a lot. However, the map is a lot more interesting in Mario Kart World. It has some really cool and tricky shortcut opportunities, and overall, this map just reminds me of Wii DK Summit, but more compact and chaotic. The only reason why it's not S tier because I find some of the turns to be difficult. Skill issue. I know. Next up, we have Starview Peak in the S tier. Now, objectively, this map does not have much going on at all. We just drive in the knockoff observatory for a bit, then we head to this ice outpost looking section, and then finally we drift on this floating river with a fixed speed boost. However, it is Mario Galaxy themed, and I'm falling for the bait. Also, Rosalina is my favorite Mario character, and this map is themed around her. Ice levels in all Mario games tend to be my favorite levels, so this map just feels like it was made for me. Same reason why I liked 3DS Rosalina's Ice World. And it's nice to see the library return regardless. Moving on to Sky High Sundae in the A tier. This map probably got the biggest glow up in the history of Mario Kart. Mario Kart 8's version honestly just felt like a test track with the rail gimmick and everything. I feel like this map captures every gimmick in the game in such a small, concise race, which makes it very chaotic. It was my warm-up track back in Mario Kart 8 for that reason, so I'm glad I can continue warming up on this map for another decade. The only reason why it's not S tier is because it's really just an oval at the end of the day. Finally, 3DS Wario Shipyard in the D tier. Yeah, this is where my favoritism for the Star Cup cuts off. Don't get me wrong, the map looks amazing and it got such a good remake with the water gimmick, but I have it in the D tier mainly because of my personal skill issue. Whenever I race on it, it just feels extremely janky and I don't know, I just don't really ever do good on it. Maybe I'll like it later on once I master the water driving. Now, let's move on to the Shell Cup, which is honestly pretty mid. Starting with SNES Koopa Beach 2 at B tier. This is the shortest map in the game, so short that it's 5 entire laps. Do you know what this reminds me of? GCN Baby Park. The thing is, it's still a lot more interesting since it's way more than just an oval. Either way, it's kind of a nothing map, but I still like to race on it whenever it shows up. Honorable mention to the music for this because it slaps. Let's move on to Faraway Oasis in the B tier. This map is honestly pretty solid for something that is also pretty simple. I also really appreciate the Savannah theme. I'm not really sure what took us so long to even get a map like that. It reminds me of the Lion King in the best way possible. Cruising on over to Crown City's second route in the D tier. To be honest, this one didn't really stand out to me at all. Maybe because we had so many city type tracks in the Booster Course Pass for years before Mario Kart World, and this route really just falls into redundancy. It just feels like I have raced on it hundreds of times already. The first variant is better mainly because there is less city driving. It's not awful, so it can stay in the D tier. Finally, Peach Stadium's first route is in the F tier. It's literally just a boring rectangle that doesn't even loop. Also, you can't even access this in versus mode unless you play an intermission from certain tracks. So yeah, easiest F tier in the game. Now, it's time for the Banana Cup, starting with GCN Peach Beach in the S tier. I absolutely love what they did with this map. They added an entire new section to the map, being Peach's Resort, leading up to a new water section before you loop back to the start. It's a nitro course within a retro. Even the original layout in the first lap is pretty solid. I'm just glad that they took something so simple and expanded upon it to give it more life. Next up, we have Salty Speedway in the F tier. What a beautiful contrast from the previous ranking. So yeah, this is my least favorite map in the game by a mile. The layout is absolutely garbage, and the turns are way too tight to accommodate a full water-based path. It's similar to my ranking for Wario Shipyard, where it's purely a skill issue, but like, this map doesn't even look appealing. It lacks so much detail that it could pass as a literal Mario Kart Tour port. Moving on to GCN Dino Dino Jungle in the B tier. They were very creative with the remake of this map. Instead of a ruins, now it's a laboratory, which I find to be neat. I also love that they allow us to use the game's new gimmicks in such creative ways. The dinosaur obstacles are a tad bit annoying, but not enough to deduct massive points from my ranking. And to conclude the Banana Cup, we have Great Question Block Ruins in the S tier. I love this map. It's extremely dynamic in every way possible. It has the absolute craziest and fun shortcut in the game. Even if you don't go for the shortcuts, the general layout of it is still very interesting, especially this area with several paths to take. This map has become a huge fan favorite for all the right reasons. I also really love ending the Cloud Rally off with this. Definitely a top 3 map for me. Now, let's move on to the Leaf Cup, starting with Cheap Cheap Falls in the B tier. When I first played through all of the cups, I had declared this to be my least favorite map. It just felt very wonky until I played it again a few times. But I don't know, I feel like the full water layout actually works very well for this map compared to Wario Shipyard and Salty Salty Speedway. It's better than them because the road is wider and the water flows consistently along the intended path. It does have some tight turns, but it's not too big of a deal for me. Overall, I'd find myself picking this online. Definitely my favorite water-based map, for sure. Next up, we have Dandelion Depths in the B tier. I wonder why this map generally gets lower rankings. It has a really unique and fun layout, with us going underground for a portion of the map. Overall, this map can get pretty chaotic, and I personally enjoy every race on it. I also appreciate the fact that it's essentially a reference to the Wooded Kingdom from Super Mario Odyssey. Moving on to Boo Cinema in the C tier. Overall, the map isn't bad at all, but it is a bit overrated. The layout is just super simple here, and there is really no room for shortcuts or any strategy for that matter. It is a bit disappointing because with the whole behind the screen feature, Nintendo was not limited to work with open world compatibility here. They could have made it much cooler than just a strip of movie tape we simply drive across. Also, I can't be the only one who thought something else when I first saw these images of Peach. Anyways, the Leaf Cup ends at Dry Bones Burnout in the B tier. This map is actually crazy. It utilizes so many of the game's new gimmicks. On top of that, there are split paths and split paths within the split paths. That's crazy. However, there are lots of off-road shortcuts, especially at the end over here, which reduces the map to a bagging track, making a lot of those features I just mentioned less meaningful. It's essentially like Desert Hills, but it's ranked higher because the map in general can get extremely chaotic. Now, let's move on to the Lightning Cup, kicking it off with Wee Moo Moo Meadows in the F tier. No, because why is this map back again? Why is it back? It sucked in Mario Kart Wii, it sucked in Mario Kart 8, and it still sucks in Mario Kart World. At least give it an overhaul, like, damn. Keeping it basic for what? Anyways, there's hope for the next map. N64 Choco Mountain is also in the F tier. Yeah, I lied. There is no hope. I'm sorry, but this is not Choco Mountain. It is quite literally everything except Choco Mountain. What do you mean it's just an industrial yard now? It's so unfitting, and I just hate that a lot of the map on the main intended path is off-road. It's basically if Wario Stadium and Toad's Factory had a baby, but it got all the bad genes. They should have just kept this in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe because I fear it will never get better than that iteration of it. Oh, and look at that. Wii Toad's Factory is next, in the C tier. I mean, there's at least some hope for the Lightning Cup. Toad's Factory is an alright map at best, in my opinion. It's not boring to race on, but it doesn't really stand out to me. It does have this cool new shortcut at the end, but that's really it. I feel like this map gets way too much praise for absolutely no reason. I feel like if it wasn't a Wii map, nobody would give a cataquack's ass about it. Finally, we've made it to the end of the Lightning Cup at Bowser's Castle in the S tier. An actual good ranking in this cup? No way. But yeah, I feel like I don't even need to explain why I ranked it so high. It has an insane layout with several paths and is objectively the most challenging map in the game, especially with the fixed speed boosts on the second half of the map. It also has the biggest shortcuts in the game. It gets picked online a lot, and I have a blast every time I race on it. We have made it to the Special Cup. thank you so much for sticking around. It means a lot. Let's just power through it now. Starting with Acorn Heights in the A tier. This is similar to Drybone's Burnout in the aspect that there are so many paths to take in various sections and paths within them. Like, look at this forest section and this section with the lanes merging like a Texas highway. There's also loads of strategy involved, such as this risky shortcut towards the end and this wall ride to do the shortcut shroomless. This map is packed with chaos. Moving on to SNES Mario Circuit in the C tier. Nintendo is obsessed with Mario Circuit 3, but it's fine because it's combined with 1 and 2 to create a mega SNES Mario Circuit. It's really cool to see those maps become much longer. It also feels more challenging in this game compared to before, which I like because it compensates for it being completely flat. Also, thank God they at least changed a little bit of the aesthetic this time. Next up, we have Peach Stadium Second Path in the A tier. Yeah, forget the Shell Cup even exists. This might literally be my favorite circuit track to ever exist. It's basically a more challenging version of Wii U Mario Kart Stadium, which I already cherished before. I also really love that we're actually racing on Peach's castle this time, which is a really nice touch. And finally, concluding the Special Cup and the entire roster of Mario Kart World, Rainbow Road in the F tier. What the hell is this map? It's way too long for my liking, and it's just not fun to race on. Guys, I'm kidding. It's in the S tier. This map absolutely blew my mind. We have traditional rainbow-colored roads, but we also have a galaxy-themed river leading us to an Aurora Borealis-themed road, and a space station leading us to the cylinder section, which reminds me of Super Mario Galaxy. We ended off with this giant finish line, which I couldn't even fit into the frame. Like, wow. This map is extremely cinematic and truly feels like a celebration of the game and the entire Mario Kart series. It is my favorite track in the game by far. And that's it. Here is the final tier list. What do you think of it? What is your favorite and least favorite tracks in the game? Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. Until next time, peace out.